Welcome to Two Babies in a Business, a podcast where Peter, my partner, and I talk about business parenting and partnership. We run a communications and marketing agency, CIPR Communications, out of Calgary, Alberta, servicing North America, maybe the world. Okay, we're drawing topics out of a tin. Are you ready, Peter?
Yes, go for it.
Yeah, it's very, I don't know what it's going to be. I know everything that's in here, but let's see. Oh, well, it's my favorite topic. Process.
Process. Oh my goodness.
Process.
Yeah. So process, I'll maybe kick this off and say that process is not my strength, not my area. But I've come to realize as a business owner and especially a business owner that is a part of a husband and wife team, how valuable process really is when it comes to all aspects of business. And I mean, I don't know if there's that much process around life, I guess some, but certainly in the business world, process has saved our company probably, and is building our company, allowing our company to build.
Yeah, I think from like a partnership perspective, I don't necessarily think we have process in our partnership. I mean, we probably do if you start like boiling things down, but as a husband and a wife team, I think that like we're very conscious of knowing one another's strengths.
Yeah.
I think that we've always known that, and I think back to the inception of CIPR, or at least when you joined, and it became us. We'd joke and we'd say that you were people and I was work. That was the two job descriptions of the organization.
Yeah.
And it wasn't anything resentful. It was because that was what we were strong at, and it wasn't, not that I wasn't doing life with people and you were doing life with work, but it was just
Yeah.
those were what we were strong at. And I think the from like you said that I'm the process person, and that's fine, but like being self-aware at the fact that, hey, like following this process or doing these things isn't my strong suit, and this is where I need the help of this team member or this person. I mean, it's even helped us in our most recent hiring journey. The fact that like we know that you need someone on the business development side and the sales side that's going to help you drill down the process of the integrator, myself, on the team.
Yeah.
So it's not that you like, just because you don't, I don't even know, because it's not that you're bad at process. You're very aware of process. You're very,
Yeah, I'm just not good at building
yeah.
process, or sort of like,
Yeah.
I'm just not sort of a step-by-step kind of guy. I'm more of a kind of a big picture kind of, yeah, it's not a straight line. My life doesn't operate on a straight line.
No.
It's just not who I am.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, process certainly has helped, I'm going to just say in a lot of different ways. And, kind of as what Christina was talking about, really, so I'm the sales guy, the champion of the find, as we talked about in our last episode. And, there's been a lot of process added to our sales documents, what happens when our sales document, we have like an electronic proposal that gets signed, and then that kicks off a process. We have a lot of structure around the transition of sales to grind or to execution. And we didn't have a lot of that, obviously, at the beginning. We had to build all that, and it's just made everything so much easier. We created standardized pricing spreadsheets, and obviously, the nice thing about process is that's the process, and that's the way things are done normally most of the time, but it's not always the way things are done. So there's always flexibility to some extent within the process, and everybody has the ability to make decisions. So it's not like, you must follow this process 100% of the time, but like you should follow it 90% of the time. And from a sales perspective, it's helped me. So I'm going to give one example that I really like. Is part of our process now is Christina does all onboarding on Tuesdays, because it used to be I used to make a sale, and then I used to, and I'll just say this, as a sales guy, we love to, just like get people excited and really get them jacked up on getting going, without talking to the team and realizing they have, 50 other tasks that week to do, and they're super busy and they don't have time to onboard a new client. So, something like we onboard on Tuesdays, one gives Christina the space to onboard on Tuesdays, and it gives me a talking point with my prospects. And listen, one, if it's Friday and hey, listen, if you sign this contract, by today or Monday, then we can get it onboarded next week. And two, it's like, hey, sorry, we can't do that tomorrow or like right away because we onboard on Tuesdays. This is our process, the way we do things, right?
We've been talking about process a lot. We just gave a presentation in LA for the WSI network, and before that in Toronto. We've been talking about this like Tuesday so much. I haven't ever said this to you, but you're like saying Tuesday like every second word at this point. Completely inappropriate. But like I wonder subconsciously if it like bothered me so much that like we were just like onboarding all the time and there was a lack of process, because Tuesday was a very random choice to me. So like what keeps coming to my mind is the completely inappropriate see you next Tuesday.
Wow.
Uh
Wow.
but like if from a non-process perspective, when we didn't have this as a process, I was feeling very angry about it.
Yeah.
Like there's this lack of when there's a lack of understanding between both parties about like when there is time to do it, I, whether it was misguided or not, felt a lot of heat
Yeah.
for this. Where is this at? Where is it? And I think now I know it wasn't coming from a malicious place. It was coming from a client service perspective and a genuinely wondering what was happening on the team. And once I could get out of my head about that and say, okay, there's process needed here. Okay, you be a part of an all team meeting where we onboard this. You know that I'm going to do this on a Tuesday. You know that like it's just added that comfort, and like not only for you, but like for me too, in the ability to think about the whole onboarding a new client in a very, not that it wasn't ever positive because a new client is great, but just a more positive follow through
Totally.
of the whole thing.
Yeah, no, and for sure. And like, for me, and I'll just say it always came from a place before we had process of when I make a sale, I don't feel good until I feel like that sale has been passed off to the people executing it, to the team, right? And there's this transition period, and so the process has really allowed me to feel better, because a couple of other things we do is when that contract is signed, an automated email comes out through our HubSpot system to the client, welcoming them with some onboarding information, some surveys for them to do, some work to get them started. That buys Christina some time to actually like get her head around this, for me to have a conversation with the team about it, to put it into our Asana project management system, to create, like there's a lot of work that needs to be done when you're onboarding a new client. And so it sort of puts some work on the client, makes the client feel like, okay, they can also book the first meeting. And so, it's sort of like, okay, we're starting, right?
Yeah, but
And
we didn't start there with this process, right? Like
no,
I think
that
that
took a long
there's,
time.
right, like there's this evolution of like if you don't put a process in place, you'll never know how you can make something better, right? Like
Yeah,
we I think pinpointed we need an onboarding process probably pretty early-ish, at least when we started growing a team. And then it became this evolution of, okay, how do we continue to make you comfortable or me comfortable? I mean, we had an interesting journey this summer as as partners and as business owners of potentially acquiring an agency.
yeah,
And it was, I think for us at the beginning, on paper, it was a very, I think people would think if they just saw the paper, a very easy decision, really alignment between service offerings, between market, between kind of how we did things, um, would have, on paper, doubled the revenue quite quickly. But I think, as and you can expand more on this too, but as we went through the process of,
which we created on the fly as we were going, right?
wild of us. We do have a standard operating procedure for
Buying a business now.
acquiring businesses now,
Yeah,
so stay
yeah,
tuned. But going through that process and now seeing an agency void of process,
yeah,
there were some process. There was some. I don't want to knock everything, but there was not a level of process that we are so used to seeing now.
yeah,
The level of process that we have ingrained in our day-to-day lives as business owners that I think trickles through into our daily lives, period,
totally.
was so void I think that like I think it kind of almost shocked us. Like we didn't really even know what to
Yeah.
do.
We started asking for financial information. It was like, they were like, it was just like sending us like, here's all the invoices we've sent out over the last little while. And it's like, well, don't you, here's our harvest. Here I can tell you everything in one screen. Don't you have
Yeah.
something like this? Right. And so, and I think it's an important point. I mean, so to me, process, standard operating procedures, equal business value, 100%. Like,
Yeah.
if you, and contracts, like, a lot of, one of the things that this company that we were looking to buy didn't really have any sort of written contracts. Everything was a handshake agreement and this and that. And it's like, that's all great. Like, that's fine. But if you're buying a business and there's no agreements in place, and how am I supposed to feel like they're just gonna, like, who I'm just some guy coming in now, why would they deal with me, right? And so, like, it just gave me no confidence, right? And I would say, I'm very particular about contracts as well, because I also want a contract to give my staff something in writing to know exactly what we're doing, right? And so, a contract is part of a process for me, because it lays out to my staff, even though it may feel formal sometimes, but at least then everybody's clear on exactly what we're doing. And when we go through onboarding, we review the contract with the client. Are we all in agreement? This is what we're doing. Are we on the same page? Here's the scope of work, right? So I think it's all an important part of it. And maybe it feels a little formal sometimes for people, but I think there's a good reason for all of it. And I think everybody's better off from it for it.
Yeah, I think that, there's something to process is time consuming. There's
Yes.
no, right? Like it is far easier from a day-to-day perspective to live a life process free than it is to sit and go, what is my process for this?
Yeah.
Um, but I think that for me, I would say step back and like build process based on who you want to become.
Right.
So, am I going to build process around it? I think if I like look into like the tactics of our agency, right? The things that we do every day. Okay, websites. It was very easy for me to build process around websites, time consuming,
Yeah.
and it always evolves. Obviously,
Yeah.
we learn as we go, but it wasn't it wasn't hard in the sense of how do I do this, because it's something that I want to be known for building great websites. We've won awards, year over year at this point for our website design. One, I believe because we have great process.
Yeah.
And two, that process was easy to make because it's something that we're grounded in and we quote unquote want to be great website conversion website developers when we grow up, or even today if we're grown up a bit, where it's like, I think where we always struggled, if you've kind of been following Peter and my journey from the beginning of CIPR, we used to have a whole creative wing. We weren't just a marketing communications agency, we're also a creative agency. Well, neither Peter and I are creative from a design perspective, and building process around creative was not only time consuming, but it felt like I was trying to put my head through a window when
Yeah.
it was closed. It was hard. I didn't uh, putting putting parameters around rounds of revisions and when do things and this and that and all these different things, and you step back and you go, why is it so hard? And like, why are these contracts so hard? And like, to me it's fundamentally, I don't want to be that when I grow up. So
This is
why
not
are
our
we
business. This is not the business we're in. I think that the process of trying to create process allowed us to see and understand that this is not the business we want to be in. And so we have no problem building process around the areas of business where we want to be. Build the,
totally
and we're pretty clear on what we want to be as individuals in our business. And so therefore building process around helping to help our team, to help new staff come in, to help people know what to do, because obviously we don't want to be doing the work all, for the rest of our lives, right? So right, and so like all of that sort of, I think it helps you to create a lot of clarity and ask the right questions about your business. And if it's really hard and it's like you can't sort of figure it out, and it's like, then why, like, are we even in the right business or doing the
well,
right
and
things here, right?
even if you think like going back to this agency that we were looking at, um I don't know the answer to this question because I am not them. But you and I ask this question continually because we don't necessarily know yet what the future holds. And it's okay if we're building process for our business, it's what do you and I want to be when we grow up and what do we want the business to be? Well, these great systems and processes are allowing us to one day not be like this other company. And let's say we're at a table where we are selling a business, there is great process and it is very sellable. And it's not about
Yeah.
just us. It's like, actually, there's a process for this. But
Yeah.
even if you think about this, okay, passing the business on or changing our roles in a different perspective, a great process is going to allow someone different to step in,
Yeah.
or be mentored into a position. And that thought process, especially for me, because like long-term goal setting is not my jam. I like to think short term. That is what keeps me motivated more. Building process towards like this like concept of like this is going to get me to a different place.
Hmm.
I don't know what that place is yet.
Yeah.
To your point, I know I don't want to be the person in charge of invoicing every month for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like there's a process around it. So let's say someone decides within our organization that that's their jam. It's like, well, it's a very easy place for them to step
Totally.
up into.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's an enabler, right? Processes is
Yeah.
an enabler and a value creator, I think. So yeah,
Mhm.
one final note on process is I would say, even though we're
Final.
not formal about it. Oh, there's our dog. Hi, dog. Even though we're not formal about it, I would say we have quite a bit of process and how we do things as a married couple, as parents. You have your roles, I have mine. They're not written down. There's no SOPs around them, but we're really good
Or
at
at least
creating.
that you know of.
Well, yeah, you have it all mapped out, I'm sure. But when and it's like, hey, we got company over, it's time to clean the house. Like, exactly what your chores are. I know exactly what my chores are. We're very effective and efficient. Nobody's stepping on each other's toes, and the house gets suddenly, I'm doing my chores, you're doing your chores, and bam, the whole house is clean, right? So like, we do have process, and it's just sort of more.
I think one thing we're working on from a process perspective is the calendar, right?
Yes.
Like I think that's something, if anyone looks at my calendar, I'm a very visual person, as people know. So like my calendar is completely color coded. I have, everything pink is personal things that are in my everything blue is something, orange is internal meetings. So I can quickly like have that glance and go, wow, my like evening is full of personal. Okay, lots of internal meetings today. That means one thing. Okay, lots of blue. That's a lot of external. So like I build process into how I look at those things from a calendar perspective for my own sanity. When I'm, journaling in the morning, I know what kind of day it's going to be just by opening up my phone. I think one thing we're trying to do is just like understand the boys' schedule better from a you and I perspective. Okay, what days are off this month? Are we sending them to a day camp on a PD day, or is one of us taking the day off or not?
Yeah, I would
And
say
that's like,
too, one of the things that we're trying to kind of figure out, sorry to interrupt, but on that note of what you just said is do we both need to be going to all things all the time with the kids, right? Because things are getting really busy. It's really hard to keep up. There's always stuff to do. And it's like, you know what, maybe mom's going to take you guys to soccer today and dad's going to go grocery shopping or make dinner, so that, right? So that's sort of something we're still, I guess, kind of figuring, because I think we both just like going to all the things together, but it's sometimes,
for me too, it's this year we work at home all day.
yeah.
A lot of the time it's like, soccer, other than the gym in the morning,
The
that
night
may be the
out.
only time I'm leaving the house. So, I mean, there is something about that. And I feel like we're in a unique situation there because we have twins. I mean, this season, we definitely have experienced them doing different activities and then the calendar being a little bit more shuffled. But I think we again, I think the key to process in a relationship is that communication. I think
Yeah.
we know, we put things in each other's calendar,
Yeah.
right? Like I
Let
know
each
when
other
you're,
know. Yeah.
when the next mom's night out is, I know when the next boy's hiking day is. Like
Yeah.
there's just transparency in that. So even if there isn't this conversation about, hey, I'm going on a hike on this weekend because we haven't had a chance to connect that day and you're trying to make the plan, you know that if I'm in meetings all day, but I accept this, I'm cool with it. Go, like there's nothing
Yeah.
else in the calendar that
Yeah, I mean, our
day. So
process is using our calendars and being transparent
I
with our
think so.
calendars and putting stuff in there. Absolutely, yeah. So
Yeah. And the kids are too. We have the calendar in the kitchen where we, I diarize what's going on. I know Jacob especially will look, oh, this looks like a busy day.
yeah,
But it's yeah, I mean, it comes into communication. I think great process in business has driven us to be more process oriented in our relationship.
yeah.
But
More
yeah, I think
process, less fights.
it's true though. I think,
It's true.
again, process can be time consuming, but
It's
again,
worth
if
it.
I like this concept that I just made up of what do you want to be when you grow up and make process around it. So if you want more transparency, then make a process around how you're going to deal with your calendar with your spouse.
Totally. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for joining in for another episode of Two Babies in a Business. CIPR Communications is a public relations and digital marketing firm partnering with clients across North America to reach their brand reputation and lead generation goals. Follow us on social at CIPR Comms and check out our website ciprcommunications.com for more information. If you have questions or want to be part of a future podcast, reach out at media@ciprcommunications.com. I'm James Falls, CIPR's PR specialist, and I'm looking forward to our next episode. Subscribe on your Spotify or iTunes account so you don't miss the next one.